Hello, ladies and gents, and welcome to No Drama Just Movies Rapid Reviews. So, I watched Springsteen deliver Me From Nowhere recently, and I had some thoughts. Right off the bat, I'm a fan of films about the creative process. I find them extremely inspiring, whether that's films about musicians like Better Man or Tick Tick Boom, or films about writers like Rebel and the Rye or Tolkien. I love seeing people figuring out a piece of music or a story, especially if we all know what that project turned out to become. Second, I like Bruce Springsteen's music. Most of it is music that I never get tired of. I don't skip Springsteen songs. So this should have been a great film for me. But was it? Meh. I felt that it was a little bit fractured. It touched on a lot of topics: his romantic relationship with Faye, his personal relationship with his manager, John Landau, or his strained relationship with his father. It's clear, for example, that he doesn't want to end up like his father, hurting the woman he's with. It touches on depression as well, which does come out in the songs. He's clearly trying to work through something and, as he says in the film, trying to make sense of things. Once he gets into his rental house and then later in the studio, that's the kind of stuff I loved. Seeing, for example, how Terrence Malick's Badlands and the story of Charles Starkweather inspired the song Nebraska, how A Moment with His Father and Sister inspired Mansion on the Hill, or where Born in the USA came from. The title only, because it doesn't really go into detail about how this became a song against the Vietnam War and about veterans. And then, obviously, you have the technical stuff in the studio, which I really enjoyed. I love the irony of them employing the best equipment and new techniques of pressing an album, state-of-the-art stuff, just to make it sound as simple as a guy recording it in his bedroom. Not only do I love this look at the production of an album, but it also showed how Springsteen had this clear idea of what he wanted his songs to sound like, and the determination to make it work. As well as showing his mental state to the point of obsessing over chasing something more simple, it's a great insight into what drives the man behind the music. So I loved all that. And then the moments with his father, again this strained relationship that turns vulnerable, showed a fascinating side of the boss. So I can't say they didn't do this or they didn't do that, because they threw pretty much everything in there. But they stayed mainly on the surface, never really exploring one of these aspects of the movie. Kind of on the same point, some of the writing felt like it was done for the trailer. You've had that scene where Springsteen buys a new car and the car dealer says, "I know who you are," to which Springsteen responds, "That makes one of us." Now, in the trailer, that suggested a movie about a guy who's lost and spends the rest of the runtime trying to find himself. There was an option to do that, I guess, with the idea of what kind of album he wants to put out next: the stripped-down acoustic album, or the one with Born in the USA. Or when he tells Faye that he's already kinda seen someone. I was curious if that would be one of the conflicts he has to deal with, but instead, that never really comes up again. Overall, this was a bit of a fractured, surface-level look at Springsteen. I liked the part focused on making the album, but it tried to add so many things in there that it didn't have time to explore them all fully. The film is definitely held up by Jeremy Allen White's and Jeremy Strong's performances, as well as Springsteen's awesome music. Maybe because it is so fractured, everyone will take something else from this one. And maybe that's good enough. And that's all. Roll credits.